All right. Good evening, everyone. I guess we have to start. I believe other people will join us with that so that we don't waste time. The call is supposed to start by 6. We're 2 minutes past 6. But we'll have to start while people join. Today, my name is Bonaventure. I'm the program manager at Right Place Health. And I'm going to be the moderator of this evening. We're going. Dr. MEZIE OKOLO is going to look at the leadership within you. And I believe that everyone who leads an organization or you run a business, you need to know what's inside of you and also understand how to lead both your group, maybe family, or wherever you find yourself, in every area you find yourself. So without much ado, I will invite Dr. MEZIE OKOLO, PhD, DMI, MBA, FAIPH, to take the mic now. Dr. MEZIE, over to you, sir.
Thank you, everybody, for joining the call. You can see some of our friends already there. It's going to be a very quick one because today is one of those busy days, but we're going to get started right quick and see how far we go. Again, it's a privilege that you chose to join us, and we appreciate that. We don't take it for granted. Today, we want to talk about the leader within you. The leader within you. Remember that one of the things we do here at Right Place and at MEZIE OKOLO Leadership Academy is to bring to the fore leadership concepts and issues that will help us do better, either in the workplace or in our ministries or, in the marketplace. So today, we're talking about the leader within you. First and foremost, let me introduce it with a few questions. Do you know that there is a leader within you that the world has not yet seen or known? There is inside of you a leader which is waiting for expression, which the world is waiting to see and to know. The scripture says something about the earnest expectation of creation, waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. So there is a leader within you that is waiting to be manifested to your generation. Do you know that? Do you know that the level at which you operate as an individual is not the best you can? Either you can be or you can do. Again, of course, the being determines the doing anyways. But do you know that there could be, even if you think you are doing your best now, that there's something better than your best that can come out of you? Do you know that? Do you know that your generation cannot wait for you to manifest the full potential of that was deposited in you at creation? For every one of us, nature looked into the future by way of foresight and deposited inside of us at creation potentials that could be converted into kinetic energy to solve the problems that are peculiar to our time and generation. Do you know that? Have you discovered yours? The solution to the problems around you maybe within you. So the solution to the problems of Nigeria are inside of us. The problems to the solutions of Africa are inside of people within Africa. Do you know that? Do you know that the problem around your family, the solution to the problem in your family could be sitting right inside of you waiting? Every potential has to be harnessed and deployed so that change can be created. So it takes us understanding, discovering our potential, developing our potentials, and then deploying our potentials to be able to make the required change and the change that we so much desire. And unless you discover and harness and develop those potentials, then deploy them, the problem they were supposed to solve still stay and look at you in the face. So until you know who you are and what you have, there's no way you can engage at full potential. And there's no way you can be your best if you are not deploying at full potential. And so we need to look within for every seed of leadership lying dormant. Because this is just like gold sitting underneath the earth, covered with mud and dust. Until that gold is discovered and cleaned up and refined and characterized, is of no better value than sand. So for you to see the person limiting you from becoming who you are, you don't need any babalawo or prophet to tell you who is doing you in the village. Look in the mirror. Because you and only you could have the key to unlocking that potential, the potential to be who and what you can be. And I'm going to put this in perspective. When I was flying into this country about 2 months ago, somebody was talking with me on flight, and I made a statement that time has come for us to stop waiting for the white man and to start looking inside to solve our problems. And the man said to me, "You are the white man." I said, well, "What do you mean, doctor?" He said, "How long have you lived abroad?" And I said, 20 years. He said, "So what is different between you and the white man?" He said, "The white man we are waiting for is right inside of you. Tell us what to do." And I make bold to tell us today that that leader, that solution, that insight you are looking for to begin to challenge those issues that you don't like around you, maybe sitting right inside of you. So everybody has some elements of leadership within him. And it is your responsibility as an individual to discover your leadership potential. Somebody could help you develop them. You could seek a mentor. You could acquire, enroll in some kind of tutelage or school. But at least you have to you have to first and foremost decide that there is more to me than I know. That I want to help me become the better version of me. And then somebody could help you. Because those skills and competencies could be lying dormant there. And you don't want to die with them. So there is a need for personal responsibility. I want you to take note of that because we get back to it in a minute. And most leaders that you know die, or most people that you know die without even knowing that they were born great leaders. Because they could not discover themselves, they did not develop themselves, they did not deploy themselves, not even to talk about full potential. You don't need those potentials, those skills, those competencies in heaven. Every leadership traits, competencies, skills, endowment. We are giving to you for this planet Earth. And so, even if you don't know what your ministry is, within your networks, within your relationships, those skills can come handy. So, as times change and as demand changes also, your leadership may have to be adapted in a way that will maximize your impact. And in also different ways that could achieve the results. So remember that I said there is a personal responsibility that is important in understanding yourself within the leadership frame. Number two, there is networks and relationships that you must also pay attention and see how those competencies that you have come handy with respect to them. And again, there could be need for adaptability and resilience within you as you deploy yourself within your environment. Because the only way you can subdue the earth, you can have dominion, is to engage. And how do you engage? By reason of your interactions, by your skills and competencies. So this series is designed in a way to help us look inwards so that we don't die potential leaders. We want to die fulfilled leaders. People who have emptied themselves in the way that Miles Monroe put it. He said, great leaders don't die old. They don't pray to die old. They die empty. And what that means is that they have poured themselves out. They have poured out everything that was deposited in them. All the potentials, everything, they have deployed themselves to so much that there is nothing left within. And that should be the target of every one of us. That by the time it is for us to exit the planet Earth, that we have poured out ourselves so much that we will leave the world better than we came into it. The greatest disservice to yourself and your generation would be for you to pass through this earth the same way you came. Unknown, unsung, uncelebrated. You don't want to die the greatest leader we never had. And so that takes us to the definition of terms. Again, do not forget that our assumption is that we understand what leadership is. Here in Right Place and at MEZIE OKOLO Leadership Academy, we are inspired to inspire you to push the frontiers and to bridge the gap in knowledge and in practice by promoting innovations in Africa. This is our own way of looking at leadership from Right Place perspective. But for you as a person, what is leadership? Are you able to inspire even yourself to push yourself and to push the frontier and to go out of your comfort zone and to do the things that you have the will and the impulse to respond to? So leadership is about being inspired enough to pursue a vision until you have achieved the result or effected a change. And your ability not just to inspire yourself, but also to inspire a team or to inspire your followers or inspire your people to either a vision that you have articulated or one that you have bought into until you see results. So change happens often in the place of leadership. What are leaders? Leadership potentials. It's your ability to both articulate a vision or to buy into one, or to think critically and to solve problems. It's your ability to want to grow with some openness to new ideas. Your willingness to take initiative and to take risk, to initiate a change. And it is not complete unless also there is a passion that helps you to drive that vision until you see results, or you make a change. And it is personal responsibility is your ability to hold yourself accountable for your actions and your inactions. The things you do and the things you refuse to do. Because all of those have consequences. So understanding your own abilities and your own power and the agency in any of these situations is taking personal responsibility. And for you to be a good leader or the ideal leader in your situation, you must not just be able to hold yourself accountable, you also be able to hold your team accountable. Of course, I talked about networks and relationships. So building connections and finding mutual benefits for the parties involved, growing your business or the business that you are engaged in, or the business of your team, whatever that is, by helping others grow their own. So how do you as a leader grow in your network relationships? How do you as a leader support your network? Is by helping others grow. So a good leader is not about himself. It's not about enriching himself. It's about impacting other people and helping them become better versions of themselves and helping them achieve what they want to achieve. In so doing, you achieve what you want. Adaptability and resilience. Your ability to change and to bounce back and adapt to changes in difficulties, adjusting to both internal and external demands, challenging experiences. So a leader in our modern times has to be resilient and be adaptable. When you build a system that is adaptive, that is responsive, and that can adjust to the demands and the needs of the moment, you build a resilient system. So it is in your interest as a leader to develop adaptability and resilience in your leadership skills. Again, I talked about what makes a fulfilled leader. It's your sense of purpose, your engagement, both with issues and with people, your satisfaction in your place of work. Are you making difference? And are you contributing to something that is reasonable? That will make you, at the end of the day, when you assess yourself and review your actions as a leader, that is where fulfillment comes from. Now let's talk about your leadership assignment. So to every leader, there is an assignment. Do you know yours? So look at yourself as a leader of some sort. Even if you're not leading anybody, you're leading yourself. Do you understand your assignment to yourself? If you find yourself within a community as a leader, do you understand your assignment to that community? In your church, in your workplace. So your assignment could be that issue that annoys you the most. That issue that you cannot stand. That subject matter that at any point is mentioned, you are so angry that you want to see change happen in that aspect of life. Could be your assignment. It could be a good indication. So even if you don't know your assignment, ask yourself, if there is one thing I'm supposed to change in life, if there is one thing, if I have one option, one chance to make a change in one area of life, what would that be? Sometimes another way you could look at your assignment could be, if every job there is in the whole world pays the same amount. Let's say, for example, it doesn't matter what you do as a job, they pay you $1 or $1. Whether you're a doctor or engineer or whatever it is, if every person makes $1 per month, what would you do? Which one would be your job? What would you choose to do? That could also point you in the area of your assignment. So for every leader, there is at least one assignment. And your assignment is usually for a purpose. Remember the 4 P's. So pay attention to the 4 P's. For a purpose, for a people, or for a place, or for a period. Very important. And every leader cannot lead everybody, cannot lead everywhere, cannot lead every time. There are leaders who were appointed and anointed and set for a season, for a period, depending on whatever the period is. Because we have a lot of situational leadership, even within the different other areas of leadership. There could be a lot of the situational leadership in transformational leadership. Today, we're not talking about all of that. But just understand that every leader has an assignment that is tied either to a people, to a place, for a purpose, or for a period. And these 4 P's will now link up to what I call the 4 W's. Your purpose could link up to your what. Your people links up to your who. Your place links up to your where. And your period links up to your when. So for every leader, the question would be, what? What problems am I here to solve? What problem is my leadership supposed to solve? Who is my leadership supposed to benefit or advance? Who? Where? Where is my leadership needed? Where was I supposed to be leading? And when? What is the timing? What is the timeline of my leadership? Is it for a season? Is it for a period? Is it for a lifetime? What is my place? What is my way? So in recap, we said that your assignment could be linked up to your purpose, your people, your place, and your period. And these 4 P's can be linked up to your what, your who, your where, and your when. Do you understand your leadership assignment? Let's talk about your what. Again, this speaks of your purpose. Leadership is not funfair, people. It is welfare. And it could be warfare, but it's not funfair. So there has to be purpose. And once there is a purpose, then there is a business involved. You have to achieve something, so you're not playing games. Leadership is not about playing games, because time is of the essence. So you have to understand your purpose, because that is key to a fulfilled life and to a secured destiny. If you don't understand your purpose, you will not be able to engage at full potential. If you don't understand your purpose, you will not be able to access yourself to see if there are some certain skills you need to acquire to be able to achieve the purpose. So a good understanding of the purpose of your leadership is important, because your purpose gives credibility and validity to your leadership. It is the essence of your leadership. What is my what? You can say, what is my purpose? Or what is my what? So I gave a few examples. If you think about leaders like Mandela, it was obvious to us, was here for apartheid. So he lived his life to fight apartheid. He said of apartheid, it is a war for which, if need be, we are ready to die. So for him to not see the end of apartheid, it was better for him to be there. Even St. Paul had to make a claim like that. St. Paul said, for me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. So this is when you know somebody who understands its purpose. When you understand your purpose, not even the barrels of the gun nor bullets can stop you. So when you see some leaders who champion some issues and they are not harassed or molested or threatened by guns and bullets and threats of death. You are wondering, where do they get this from? It is the purpose. It is a purpose-driven life. You can never go wrong living a purpose-driven life. Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting racial discrimination in America. And he knew that someday they will kill him. But he didn't care. It didn't matter. For him to live was to fight racial discrimination. And if they killed him, so be it. And of course they did. Our founding fathers had to fight colonization. Are you kidding me? It was war. Fighting colonization was like a rebellious, declaring war against the queen. Just like those who signed America's Declaration of Independence. John Hancock had to sign his own signature so boldly, and they asked him, why did you sign it like that? He said, so that the King of England will be able to read my signature without his spectacles. Because he knew it was rebellion against the King of England. It was declaration of war against the power of the day. And they knew what was going to happen. But he was not bothered. He signed his name in bold and he declared it boldly. John Knox, we know about in history also, was the reformer out of Scotland. And this man was bold to declare, give me Scotland or I die. So when people discover their what, they are as bold as life. The leader within them manifests. When a leader discovers his purpose, you can't stop him. Your argument cannot stop him. You can't even bribe him. All of this nonsense about leaders being bribed is because they don't know their purpose. They are not consumed by their purpose yet. When you are consumed by your purpose drives you and drives every part of you, even when it doesn't make any sense. So you, as an individual, under the sound of my voice, what is your purpose? Your leadership must solve a problem. Have you identified the problem your leadership must solve? Have you identified the purpose for which you are here? Let's go quickly to the who of your leadership. Who? So again, I said at the micro level, your who could be you. It could be you. But more than that, every person needs to be empowered to lead himself, to dream and to follow their own dreams, to desire change and to pursue change, to take up their own destinies in their hands, and to be partners with God in achieving it without undue interferences from other people or government. And that is what we call empowerment. So every individual needs to be empowered to be able to pursue, what makes for happiness. Pursue what makes for a fulfilled life. But beyond self, your who could be your family, could be your wife, could be your children, could be your nuclear family. They need some leadership. They need somebody to be able to articulate some vision and lead from the front. And take those initiatives and risks involved. You have to articulate a vision and share that vision and inspire them to pursue the shared compelling vision of the future. And this is important. I always use my dad as an example because my dad came from a very poor family. But he articulated a vision of us that is better than his own realities. When I graduated from college, I asked my dad, if anything would have happened to you now, what would be your wish? He said, I want all my children to be college graduates. And that happened many years after. Anyway, so when that happened, I came back to him and said, Dad, your first wish has happened. So if anything would have happened to you today, what would be your next wish? And he told me. And of course, that also happened. My point is that your vision, your who could be to your people. But there has to be an understanding of the vision and the people and the what. And someone has to follow through. Your kinsmen, your community folks, your church members could be your who. How about your trade union, your company, your organization, your state, your country? Think about Kwame Nkrumah, again, Zikiwe, Mandela, Luther King Jr., my dad, and people like that. How they sold themselves out to the vision for which they have identified as their reason, and how far they and what they left behind. Today we still talk about them, we think about them, we remember them. So you, that is under the voice, the sound of my voice today, what is your who? Or who is your who? To whom have you been called as a leader? The where of your leadership. This refers to your niche, the scope of your leadership, your catchment, your territory, your domain, your kingdom, whatever that represents. It could be your house, your organization, your community, your church, your social group. Where? It could be your locality. Assignments are always specific, always, or almost always. Moses, in the scripture, was sent to Egypt to lead Israel out of bondage. That was his assignment, to lead Israel out of bondage. And so, all these years he was preparing, whether it was in the wilderness or in Pharaoh's house, he was preparing for that assignment. Joseph was sold so he could save them from famine. So he went through all of what he went through, according to Bible stories, to be able to save his people when his time came. Jesus also, we know about him, and the rest of the prophets, to save humanity. Gandhi was sent to India. Again, Martin Luther King Jr. to America. Again, Mandela to South Africa. You, where are you sent? Where are you supposed to manifest your leadership? All these years you've been going to school, you've been receiving all certifications, you've been receiving trainings, acquiring skills. To what end? Where are they supposed to be deployed? Abraham was told to leave his father's house. Lot chose to go the way of Sodom. John the Baptist was in the wilderness. I don't know how many of you know about a man called Willa Connie, a preacher who is in Boko, somewhere in Boko. He's a leadership consultant. Some are called to the nations, others to the tribes, others to foreign lands. There is no dry place, people, but there are dry people everywhere. It is not really about where you are. It is about who you are. Because the who you are that has been sent to where you are will make an impact if you understand your assignment. So you don't look at the place and say, oh, it is too dry here, let me go to the east. That's not how to be relevant as a leader. You have to find within you where you're supposed to be, where you have been prepared for. Even if everybody else is living there, doesn't mean you should leave. That people are jackpotting does not mean you should jackpot too. Because where the people are jackpotting to may be their assignment, and if you follow them, you be like fish out of water. So you have to look inwards and ask yourself, where is my where? God created places before he created people. This is very important. For those of us who are Christians, in the account of creation, it is clear that God created places before he created people. And so when he created people, he had put in them what they need to survive in the place that he created them. And he planted them there. And then he commanded them to have dominion, to subdue, to rule and to overrule. You can only have dominion. You can only subdue in the place that you have been prepared to subdue. You cannot rule in a place that you have not been prepared to rule in. And this is important. The when of your leadership. Our time is fast spent, so there is timing in everything. And there is everything in timing. In the business of life, time is always of the essence. Because we know about today, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So today is the time we have. And the grace for the assignment given to you does not last forever. Time is of the essence. The business of life and ministry, time is always. The vision is for an appointed time. Time. I can't say it enough. Have you doing something, and then you were, and then someday you were working on the, and you saw somebody else. So something that was not, and because you did not deploy, you say, "Oh man, I thought I saw myself doing this." Vision is an appointed time. Whatever you do in this kingdom has to be timed, is time sensitive, is time bound, is timely, it has to be time tested, and you must be conscious, because one resource and the one commodity that cannot be regained is time. We can trade time for anything and everything. Your allocation of time to things could indicate the value you attach to those things. Time waits for nobody. And the time is one resource you cannot waste in advance. Time. Very important. So if you keep postponing until all things are fine before you take up your leadership, you will probably never assume that responsibility. Because you keep waiting for the time to be right, and the time will never be right. So what do? You make the time right. Oftentimes, situational leadership is a matter of timing. You respond to the situation as it arises. So sometimes until you get started, you cannot be ready. When great leadership meets with great timing, the result can be revolutionary. But it's only those who are sensitive in the spirit to be able to know that now the time has come. Even Jesus asked his mom in one of those scriptures, "Don't you know that my time has not yet come?" So it means that even himself understood that there is timing in his assignment. And so if he needed to acquire some more skills while his time was, so he was doing, until when his time came, he launched into the deep. The three important R's to consider. Remember, I mentioned them earlier in our introduction. Your personal responsibility, your relationships and networks, and your resilience. The leader within you is a call to embrace leadership as a personal and as a continuous journey of growth and positive influence. And this is one thing I want you to take away from this discourse tonight, that this is a call for you as an individual to embrace leadership as a personal and a continuous journey of growth. It underscores the belief that leadership can be expressed through action, influence, and the ability to inspire. Very important. You have to be able to inspire. And sometimes you inspire through your action. You influence through your action. Your personal responsibility. Acknowledgement of the fact that your duties and responsibilities to act ethically. That you have to make sound decisions and be accountable for the outcomes of your activities. So it highlights the need for ethical conduct. You need to act with integrity as a leader. Honesty and fairness are important. Your decisions must be involved and must be informed and evidence-based. And so how do you make those decisions evidence-based? You gather information, as much information from the relevant places. You analyze those information and the data and look at potential consequences. And then you weigh the various options, given the facts, before you now make your decision. And this makes your leadership very responsible. This makes your decisions evidence-based. Of course, again, I talked about accountability earlier. For you to do well as a leader, given personal responsibility, you have to be able to take responsibility for the outcome of your actions and decisions, irrespective of whether they be successful or not. So even when you messed up, you should be able to say, I messed up here. And then that becomes a learning opportunity. So you cannot be ashamed of your mistakes, so to speak. You cannot be ashamed of your failures, because then those become opportunities for you to learn and do better going forward. And there has to be communication, very, very important. Effective communication. You have to be effective for it to effect anything. For your communication to be able to engineer and induce any change, it must be very effective. Time will not permit us to go into details of what makes it an effective and an ineffective communication. But by providing resources, support, and some level of autonomy to carry out duties and to take initiatives, you not just empower yourself, but also you empower your team. Ongoing development also is very important for a leader, or for one who wants to advance and to discover, to develop, and to deploy the leader within him. There is a need for ongoing personal development, learning, and acquisition of skills and knowledge, and being in the mood of learning. Leaders are readers, and the readers are leaders. So there has to be this thirst for knowledge and a thirst for understanding. There has to be a quest for wisdom to be able to deploy yourself at full potential as a leader. You have to have a quest for knowledge. And of course, that will also even reflect in some other skills like your emotional intelligence and stuff like that. Now, the second R that we said is important for our subject of the leader within you is a good understanding of your relationships and your network. You have to pay attention to, first and foremost, we said personal, your own personal responsibility. Number two is we're talking about your relationships and your network. Every meaningful relationship is based on trust. And leaders, they invest effort. This is what you do in relationships and network. Because your network can be can determine your network and determine your network as well. And intentionally cultivate, even within and outside your access to information. Imagine the opportunities that your network can facilitate and best practices. Next level. Your network can determine everything about you. So it is important, and one of the key strategies for a leader to succeed is to be intentional in his relationships and in the cultivation of his network. And this will require that he will be able to collaborate within and between organizations and people to be able to and to be able to effectively communicate with them to form some level of synergy. Every time collaboration is intentional and is backed by effective communication, backed by trust, it will lead to improved outcomes, whatever the outcome measure is. So leaders with robust networks and relationships are always more influential. Think about it. Any leader who wants to have influence must be intentional in building his networks and relationships in a way that will now grow over time, that he becomes more influential than he ever thought he could. They can easily get buy-ins. They can form allies. They can give and they can take. They know what is going on within their circle. People will reach out to him and volunteer information that could move him and his organization to the next level without him paying a dime for it. Relationships and networks. Mentorship. Mentorship is very important for personal development. And it can make things very easy, again, through your relationships and networks. So a leader who is taking personal responsibility should be able to know when and in which areas of his life he needs mentorship, and to identify from his networks mentors that will help him save time, help him exercise some level of influence, help him to gain speed within an area of weakness. I have talked about emotional intelligence. And this is the ability of the leader not only to understand himself and his own emotions, but those of his people, the people within his network. And it can come very handy in negotiations, can come very handy in deal making, it can come very handy in conflict resolution. Again, flexibility. Networks provide leaders with diverse perspective and access to new opportunities that are able to help them navigate, as well as benefit from changing times and seasons. So it's important that for you to discover the leader within you, you have to be very intentional with your relationships and with your networks. Let's talk about resilience and adaptability. So those are the 3 R's: responsibility, relationships, and resilience. The ability of the leader to adapt and to navigate through challenges, setbacks, and adversities. So he is able to withstand pressure and he's able to overcome tough times through adaptability. And in so doing, he develops resilience. Resilient leaders are adaptable and flexible. Strategies can be adjusted to cope with uncertainties and unpredictable situations. And again, they can leverage their networks. They can leverage their relationships, of course, with their own personal responsibility to be able to develop adaptability and resilience. Now, for a resilient leader, optimism is important. He has to maintain a very positive outlook, even in difficult situations. He must see setbacks as opportunities to launch back. A leader who is able to see and interpret setbacks as opportunities to launch back will be resilient. He will be successful in his work. Because if you look at some of the leaders we have mentioned already, at some point they had to go back and review their strategies and re-strategize. So if they are engaged and they're not making success, they go back to their the drawing table and see where they're not doing well, or why they're not doing well, or what has changed, and then be able to adapt again without losing the purpose. It's a purpose, it has to be purpose-driven. Resilient leaders learn from failure because failure is an opportunity. Always, failure is an opportunity. You have not failed until you give up trying. So even if you have failed 1,000,000 times, so long as you are still trying, you haven't failed yet. So failure must be an opportunity for growth and for learning. Mistakes must be opportunities to learn lessons and to experiment a different way of pushing the frontiers. Remember that leaders must always push the frontiers. Again, the need for communication cannot be overemphasized in developing resilience as a leader. Resourcefulness, problem-solving skills. A leader who cannot think critically and creatively and be able to navigate through complex problems is not going to be able to make a lot of impact. In summary, there is a leader within you waiting to be discovered, to be developed, and to be deployed for maximum impact. Have you discovered it? Are you developing it? Or have you developed it? And are you deploying it? 3 questions you must take home. Somebody may discover it, but you still need to take ownership of your development. Better still, nobody knows you more than you know yourself. So even if somebody said, I can see a leader within you, you have some leadership skills. So you will be you still have to accept it and do something about it. Because oftentimes we don't really do what people tell us to do. We do what we tell ourselves to do. So even if I say to you, come, you have to say to yourself, go there before you come. And this is important. So because time is of the essence, your leadership as well as your goal have to be smart with respect to the purpose, the person, the place, and the period, which represent your what, your who, your where, and your when. Remember, the 3 R's are very crucial if you must discover, develop, and deploy the leader within you: responsibility, relationships, and resilience. High impact leaders take responsibility for personal development as well as responsibility for the outcome of their teams. They build and they maintain strong relationships and they leverage them for resilience, especially when things get tough and when adaptability is needed. Resilient leaders understand the times, the seasons, and they are emotionally intelligent, which helps them to build adaptive systems. Thank you very much again, and thank you for calling in. Bona, over to you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. MEZIE, for the great insights on the leader within you. In the business of life, time is of essence. I believe that everybody that have been on this call since 6:02 or after then must have gained something from it. And personally, I've learned a lot listening to this. And at this point, I don't know if you have questions. You can raise your hands to answer to ask your question. Okay, sorry. You can raise your hands to ask question. Or if we don't have question, I believe this video is actually streaming on Facebook, and the content is also going to be available there for as long as Facebook exists. On this note, I want to thank everybody that have joined. I don't know if Dr. has still have anything to say. Okay. I want to thank everybody that have joined this call. I believe that you learned a lot from, the insights and everything. I want to thank Dr. Kazim Oseni, Eche Asuzu, Dotun Oyinlade, Emmanuel Ochie, Iniabasi, Glass, Wendy Obi, and every other person that have joined this call. And I believe when the next call we'll have, I'm sure that you'll be there too. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. My name is Bonaventure Onkama, Program Manager, Right Place. Have a good night. Bye.
So next week we'll be having we'll be having my brother Eche on the call with us, and we'll be looking at the Nigerian health system in the era of economic down turn, the issues, the challenges, and the way forward. So I will I implore us to join the call next week. Eche will be joining me. I'll be looking at the Nigerian health system as we navigate through these economic hard times. Thank you very much, and bye for now.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.